So let's talk in a little more detail. Let's talk in a little more detail about the transition planning and what these meetings consist of. So according to IDEA, the IEP team, or ARD committee, as we call it in Texas, start discussing transition services at age 16. So again, your IEP team or ARD committee is going to be made up of the child's special education teacher, usually their lead special education teacher. Oftentimes, if they have any related services like speech therapy, OT, PT, they might be involved as well, or at least will contribute. There's always a regular education teacher involved, at least in Texas, and the parents and oftentimes the student is part of the meeting as well. As children get older, um, they start getting invited to these IEP or ARD meetings to be part of the process as well. Now in Texas, we start talking about transition planning at age 14, and some other states do this as well. And this allows for high school planning. Um, so just be aware that some states will start younger than 16, but it's a good idea to start a little younger because that way their high school path, starting of high school, can be discussed and things can get put in place earlier rather than later. So some of the things that they'll talk about is appropriate measurable post-secondary goals based on age-appropriate transition assessments. And then any transition services that are needed to assist the child in reaching these goals. Sometimes there are community programs that the parents can apply to. Sometimes they apply to these when the child's very young because there are waiting lists for these things. And the purpose is to ensure that all students step into the adult life they desire. So that's why if a student is able to attend, if they're not too severely disabled, they like to include them, the educators like to include them in these meetings so they can have a voice in the decisions that are going to impact their lives. And on page 443, you can see some questions that students may be asked during these meetings to help develop the transition plan. A lot of times this questioning might be done ahead of time by the special education teacher and then discussed in the meeting. Sometimes when we have these ARD and IEP meetings, there's a lot of preparation work done ahead of time, but the final decisions are always made in the ARD where the parents are participating, and oftentimes for older children that the children are participating as well. So take a look at those questions on page 443. And on page 444, there's a flow chart that kind of goes through some of these steps that you can look at also to get some more details. Now, oftentimes there might be some transition assessments that need to be done. These could be formal testing to get like maybe an updated IQ or updated achievement levels, which can be important in making decisions or to see if a child might be college ready or might attempt a local community college to start with. Some of these are informal assessments like interest inventories to see what the child might be interested in doing. I keep saying child, but I mean student, or because we're talking about older children here. And on page 445, there are examples of post-secondary goals for 3 different students at different levels of disability. And so that's kind of interesting to take a look at so you can kind of see what some of these goals might be. And again, that's on page 445. Independent living can be an important consideration for many families with significantly disabled individuals. Some students may not be able to live independently and will have to remain at home as adults, or the family may consider some type of group living arrangement or supported living arrangement if that's available to them. So a lot of talk will go into instructional strategies and activities in the area of instruction. What do we need to be focusing on to get this child ready for adulthood? Employment ideas, community experiences, things to get them, involved in the community and have a sense of belonging. Independent living, do they need help with independent living skills? Any related services they might continue to need as an adult. And if necessary, they may do daily living and functional vocational assessments. Like, are they able to cook their own meals? Are they able to be safe in a kitchen, like cutting up vegetables or using a stove? Things like that. And of course, these meetings are held at the very least once a year during the school year. And they're going to be looking at IEP goals. And then, so these goals will kind of transition. They'll still have some academic goals, but they're going to be transitioning also into post-secondary goals. What do they want to do after high school? And they coordinate transition services with adult agencies. So there may be some interdisciplinary teaming going on and interagency collaboration. Like, I think about in Texas, they have the Texas Workforce Commission that can provide some vocational training and job training skills to those who have graduated from high school. So that could be one example. And just look at the summary of performance. Describe their academic functioning, what level they're at, how is their functional performance, like these daily living skills. If they're living in a community that might have good public transportation, are they able to navigate public transportation on their own? Because a lot of these children may be so disabled that they're not able to get a driver's license and drive a car, so they might be dependent on public transportation for getting to and from work if they're able to work, or getting to their community activities. And then recommendations for continued progress towards their goal. So that's kind of some more details about what these transition meetings might involve. There's, like I said, there's a lot of different areas, and it's going to be highly based on the individual needs of the child. Like, some children may not need any help with functional or daily living skills, but others may need a lot of help.